The Christian community is being eaten away by the cancer of fear, of irrelevance, of the preoccupation with what people think about us. Well, it's time for some radiation treatment with the light of truth.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
Welcome to the program, friend. This is the third installment of a speech that I had the privilege of giving recently at a pro-life breakfast to a room full of 40 or 50 people. And we decided we'd take our good camera and our good microphone, and then we would spruce it up with some pictures. So I hope that if you've been watching it, that you've enjoyed it. If you have not seen the entire series, it is online. Please feel free to go to our website and watch the whole thing. Everything we have on our website is free, including books, tapes, videos. And as a special thank you to those who have stood with us and who are viewers of the program, who've helped us financially, we've made literally all of our books, tapes, videos available as PDFs. So if you just can't afford to get one of my books that that you hold in your hand, you can download the whole thing for free. All right? Because we're not out to make money, we're out to change the course of human history. This is not a business. This is us trying to be a voice, a watchman on the wall, a crier, calling to people to do what is right. Now, the simple fact of the matter is that the pro-life movement has not succeeded in its mission to make it a criminal act to kill babies. There are reasons why we have failed. In an earlier episode, I talked about Gideon being required by God to tear down the idol that was in his dad's front yard before God let him fight against the Midianites. And I think that the idols in our front yards, the idol of the love of self, the idol of the love of our reputation, the idol of the love of ease and comfort, these idols must be torn down before we could ever hope to prevail against the juggernaut of the death industry that we euphemistically call abortion. So, as you watch this final episode and we do some Q&A, assess in your own heart, what are the idols that are in my front yard that keep me from fighting the Midianite army?
The last thing that you mentioned about the images and whatnot,
Yes.
It makes me wonder why we don't see a lot more on media, daytime TV, about these, rallying people to stop abortion. Why aren't we bombarded like a Democratic or Republican campaign during voting season?
The question is, why don't we see more images of aborted babies?
Or just, stop abortion. Doesn't it have to be images?
Well, it needs stopping. Yeah, stopping abortion does need to be said, and child killing, but you need to show the victims, period. Showing the victims is central to victory. It's not an also-ran. When you see the images of the piles of Jewish bodies, you say, no more anti-Semitism. Never again. When you see the skulls from Rwanda, then you say, we're not going to stand by while a slaughter like this happens again. We're going to intervene, right? Do you understand? The images are central. And the reason that you don't see the images more often is because most pro-life groups have agreed to not show them. If you go to the March for Life, look, when I was in the 1980s, 1990s, when I was there year after year after year speaking at the platform at Nellie Gray, there were signs of dead babies everywhere. Now, almost none. But worse is that we have the mechanism before us to get the images on TV. And it's by running for federal office. If you want to show pictures of dead babies, you talk to me. I will show you how to run for federal office, because federal law requires that TV stations who have a federal license must run the ads of federal candidates. Not state candidates, not local candidates, federal candidates. So when I ran against Obama in 2012 in the Democratic primary in Oklahoma, say, which I did, I beat him in 14 counties. Wow. I beat a sitting president in 14 counties in a primary. I won 6 or 7 delegates. They changed the rules and stole them from me, which we knew they would. They're honest thieves. So that was right. Thank you, Michael, for that obligatory laughter. But I think I got that. So they changed the rules. But how did I do it? I showed ads. I raised money and showed television ads all over the state of Oklahoma showing dead babies, saying, if you vote for this man, you are a part of these dead children. Another question.
Randall, I agree that we should criminalize abortion, but how do we do that? How do we criminalize abortion?
You use legislatures like North or South Dakota or Arizona. You go to states where you could pass a law that truly outlaws child killing. And then you tell National Right to Life to go to the hot place when they try and undermine what you're doing. And you just, because National Right to Life, by the way, is the biggest collaborator in the country. I don't have time to go over the history with you, but they are collaborators with the child killing. They have undermined every effort to criminalize child killing. It's not time, it'll just get overturned, blah, blah, blah. So go to a state and take all you can get. If you've got a plane full of hostages, what's your goal? Get every single one of them free, right? And if you can't get them all free on the first visit, what do? You keep going back and you say, would you give us the infirmed, please, and the elderly? Let's just start with that. And you get what you can get. But you always say publicly, our goal is to get every hostage. That's where you can have the dialogue, at least with incrementalism, is to say our goal is to criminalize child killing. These people go, well, we want to regulate the abortion clinics for safety for women's health. What bull crap. Just be honest. I don't want a well-regulated concentration camp or a well-regulated slave auction. Right? Say, we want these places regulated because we want to put them out of business because they're murdering babies. And we intend to criminalize everything that they're doing. But in the meantime, the best we can do is get them regulated and get them out of business. Stop the shenanigans. Someone almost clapped. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. You can't ask. You're too young. Plus, you're my son. I'll let you in a minute. Go ahead.
Of all the counties in the state of Tennessee, Shelby County, where Memphis is located, has the largest amount of abortions. What is so frustrating is that there, as far as I know, nothing said from the pulpit about abortions in the black churches. How do we solve that problem?
The question is, we have more dead babies here in this county than any place in the state, and virtually all of the African American pulpits are silent regarding the murder of children in their own community. Well, and how do we deal with it? You say the truth. The question is, we have more dead babies here in this county than any place in the state, and virtually all of the African American pulpits are silent regarding the murder of children in their own community. Well, and how do we deal with it? You say the truth. You meet with them. I mean, go and knock on a door and say, Pastor, do you realize that African Americans make up 12% of the population, but 33% of all dead babies are African American? This is black genocide. Show them the Margaret Sanger quotes. Show them the truth. Show them the statistics and show the historical reason why the African American communities were targeted, because it is genocide. And then it's up to their conscience with God what they do. You could hold signs in front of their churches on Sunday morning saying abortion is black genocide. Please, Pastor, speak out. Show dead babies in front of their churches. There's people who do it. I applaud it. There was a hand over here. Yes.
I was wondering what your best response was when someone says, and they're not a Christian, so they wouldn't take the Bible. Someone says, it's my right to do what I want to with my body. Have you found a persuasive response to someone when they say that?
If someone says, it's my right to do with what I want with my own body, and they're not a Christian, maybe they are a Christian, and they say that, what is the response? Let me tell you one thing. all right? And then I'll give you the answer, the rhetorical answer. I'm not really worried about converting those people. If I'm an abolitionist in 1856, what's my goal? To free the slaves. If that vile slaveholder will not repent, then I'm going to leave him to God. My intention is to take his property away from him and to save the babies, or rather to save the black people that I can. So we spend way too much time trying to convert child killers into being pro-lifers. The mission is to convert pro-lifers to get off of their hind ends and to fight. Our parishes, our churches are filled with people that are allegedly pro-life, but if they were put on trial for trying to stop a woman's constitutional right to have an abortion, most of them would be acquitted. They'd be found not guilty because you could not build a case against them. Yes, you were at that abortion mill saying that abortion is murder. Or yes, you were working to criminalize abortion. There's no factual evidence. These are the sins of omission, things I have failed to do. It's the sins of omission that are killing us. They're killing us. So the answer to the question is you don't have a right to do what you want with your own body. You don't have a right to sell your body as a prostitute. You don't have a right to take illegal drugs with your body. You don't have a right to jump in front of a car with your body. The right to govern our bodies is not absolute. You don't have a right to use your body to hit me in the face. Well, that's your face. Yeah, and your baby's a separate body. You don't have a right to butcher your baby. Your baby might reside inside of you right now, but it's not you. It's a separate human being, and you do not have the right to murder your own baby. Amen. And say the word murder. If people won't say the word murder, they're collaborating. What does abortion even mean? The origin of the word abortion is military, right? It
means to stop something in progress.
Yes, abort a mission, abort a takeoff of a rocket. The use of the word abortion in substituting it for murder was done at the behest of the child killers to numb us. Don't use their rhetoric. Talk about child killing. Well, it makes me uncomfortable. Makes me uncomfortable too. Well, it makes other people uncomfortable. Yes, that's the goal. Samuel Adams said, you do not need a majority to prevail. You need an irate, tireless minority, keen to set fire in the minds of men. All right, next question.
Keeping in mind what you've said
It's
about...
not a mic for here, it's a mic for recording.
Keeping in mind what you've said about not looking for the incremental victories and about how many candidates are collaborators more than they are pro-life, how do we, in the voting booth, make a step toward victory?
The question is, given that a lot of candidates are collaborators, what do we do with our vote? Well, there is a valid theological debate over choosing the lesser of two evils, trying to mitigate evil by someone who will at least slow the number of people being killed. I mean, it's a valid theological debate, and there are people who say, no, there's not, this is horrible, you can't say that. No, it's a valid theological debate. But part of the problem is not the voting booth. The problem is before we ever get to the voting booth, vetting our candidates. You get to the early meetings and say, sir, if a bill was voted on that would make it a criminal act to kill babies from conception till birth, would you vote for the bill, yes or no? Please don't give me a long answer, yes or no. And then he goes, well, you know, I just want to say for the record that I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and there was this time that we said, shut up. Don't really say shut up, but it's, you know, that would be rude, right, boys? We don't use the S word in our house. We're not supposed to say shut up. You say to them, sir, thank you for that answer, but that's not what I asked you. But part of the problem is not the voting booth. The problem is before we ever get to the voting booth, vetting our candidates. You get to the early meetings and say, sir, if a bill was voted on that would make it a criminal act to kill babies from conception till birth, would you vote for the bill, yes or no? Please don't give me a long answer, yes or no. And then he goes, well, you know, I just want to say for the record that I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and there was this time that we said, shut up. Don't really say shut up, but it's, you know, that would be rude, right, boys? We don't use the S word in our house. We're not supposed to say shut up. You say to them, sir, thank you for that answer, but that's not what I asked you. I asked you, would you vote? Yes or no? If a bill came before your desk, if it's the executive, if it's the governor, the president, if they have to sign it, or if it's a legislator, would you vote for it that made it a criminal act to kill a baby from conception until death? Would you vote for it? And then if they say no, or if they equivocate, then you know you've got a problem. So the problem is that we don't do our homework and we're not engaged in the fight at the front end. Why aren't we? Because it's annoying, because it's a sacrifice, because it takes time, because it's not fun. It's not fun. I know fun, and that is not fun. But it's duty. And it's how we're going to win. And because we haven't done it, we keep getting our tails kicked, our clocks clean, and we keep getting people like Boehner who say, I'm pro-life. And then National Right to Life or other groups run off and print little cards that say pro-life, voted against partial birth abortion. That was the biggest waste of time and money that the pro-life movement has invested in since Roe versus Wade. It was a scam from the beginning. Because, okay, great, you can't pull a baby out 3/4 of the way and snip its brain or, its vertebrae. You could just burn him to death with a saline solution. So keep in and kill early. That's the motto of partial birth abortion ban. It was absurd. And it gave umbrage to people like Clinton who signed it. I had a daily Christian TV show, and it was running in Cincinnati and around the country. Clinton's people bought time. I'm an enemy of Bill Clinton, right? By name, he has spoken to me. He's buying $2,000 a month worth of ads on that station during my show, saying, I voted against partial birth abortion. Oh, whoa, that must mean I can vote for Clinton. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. And the phone rings in the White House. Who would you like to be there? All right, next. Any other questions? All right, we'll take 2 more and then we'll call it quits. You guys have been a great audience. Go ahead, sir.
What about the response that it's not a one-issue platform or one issue to determine your choice?
What about the response that it's not a one-issue platform? All right, take out slavery, put in child killing, or take away child killing and put in killing Jews or slavery. Candidate Smith, you agree with him on health care. You agree with him on education. You agree with him on the Second Amendment. You agree with him on the rate of taxation. The problem is Candidate Smith wants to reinstitute chattel slavery. And he believes that every white man has a right to own another black person as a slave. And by the way, he says repeatedly, I would never own a slave myself. And I am against slavery, but I am not willing to, I'm personally opposed to slavery, but I'm not willing to put my morals or impose my morals on people who want to own slaves. And so I believe that a man should have the right to own a slave. We see the problems that African Americans are causing all over the country, and they didn't cause those kind of problems when they were slaves. Now, at that moment, would you become a one-issue voter? Yes. You want to have, what? Yeah, but we agree on the Second Amendment on taxes. So it's a one issue. If you believe in the murder, the butcher of innocent little babies, you have disqualified yourself before God and men. And when you see God face to face with blood all over your hands, you'll understand why I oppose you. Have a nice eternity. All right, I've gotten a little too worked up. Yes.
Okay, getting back to those of us who stand in front of the abortion clinic.
God love you.
And the last-ditch effort to save babies.
Yes.
And it really is our effort. But
yes.
What is your opinion and your advice on showing the graphic pictures? I have no problem once I get to talk to a woman to show her the graphic pictures. I personally have a problem having them out as the women come in because they have total tunnel vision when they see those pictures.
I know.
And they walk in and ignore anything that we might say to them.
All right. The question is, for those who are in front of the abortion mills doing what is commonly called sidewalk counseling, the last-ditch effort to save this baby while a woman is walking in to kill her child, do we show pictures then, yes or no? First of all, I love you. God love you. I have spent years sidewalk counseling. and saved a lot of babies. So, you know, our hearts beat together. We know what it's like. We know the anguish of losing that child, where they stop and then the boyfriend pressures them, or the mom and the dad of the girl say, no, you're not having this baby, and they drag him in, the girl's crying. You have no idea what this woman sees and how difficult it is. So I love you. God love you. You have to make that call yourself for you. But if in front of that Planned Parenthood, you and I both know that most women, forget whether you've got a sign, most women still won't stop and talk to you. They won't. And the value of the sign is that it's haunting them when they're in there. There are many women who have come out, not because someone talked to them, because they saw a sign. I had a friend contact me a year or two ago about a woman who came up to him and said, you don't know me. She's holding a baby. She said, you don't know me, but I was coming in here about a year ago to have an abortion, and I saw your sign. And I started crying, and I got back in my car, and I left. And this is my baby. So when you got to, you know, you're sidewalk counseling, and you know, and some of it also depends on access. Some places you've got a street level where you can talk to the girl face to face. They've got to literally go this close to you to get into the abortion mill. But some of them, you're 10, 15, 20 feet away. You're saying, please just come and talk to me. You're begging. And so at that point, I mean, I've done the gamut. I love you. Please, please come over here. We care about you. We love you. Let us help you. Please don't kill your baby. To screaming, Mommy, don't kill me. Mommy, please. Just screaming. And for those of you who think, wow, that's a little inappropriate. Really? If you were being about to have your head ripped off, would you want me to scream for you? I'm serious. I mean, this is where we have to think these things through.
The criminalization for the women and moms.
Yes.
So can you help listeners to have the response when their pro-life friends say, that just sounds very, very harsh. We don't want to put women in jail, and we don't want to say that we might want to prosecute the moms and women.
All right, the question is, how do you respond to pro-life people who say, I'm with you, I want to make it a crime to kill babies, but we can't be saying that we want to prosecute women? The answer is simple. Take baby killing out and take German police in, or any type of collaborator. This guy doesn't own the slave, but he's just the one who catches the slave and brings it. This guy doesn't actually throw the switch to kill the Jews in the oven. He just brings the Jews in. He works inside the concentration camp, moves them in toward the oven, but he's never once dropped that poisonous gas in there. Are you hearing me? When child killing is made illegal again, which it will be, because there's a God in heaven. And that's the good news. Psalm 2, Psalm 110. It may be in our lifetime. It may be that God brings horrific judgment upon us. Terrorism, nuclear attack. God has a very large assortment of options at his disposal to chasten people. Really severely. Look at what he did with the Babylonian captivity with the Jews, if you want it, for instance. But the answer to the question is, how can we say that this is a human being who's about to be murdered and it's a crime to kill that human being, but then say to the mother, the one who's actually taking the baby there, you don't have to fear any prosecution? One of the purposes of law in the Bible that's delineated is the fear of punishment. Did you know that? When somebody commits this crime, do this to them, and others shall see it and fear. That's what the Bible says. So if a woman has no fear of her picture being in the paper, of being prosecuted, even if it's for a misdemeanor or a low-grade felony, all right, never mind, discussing the length of prison terms or whatever. But if a woman does face any type of punishment and a public trial, she's going to be, I think that it would be safe for me to say that there are a few women in this room who might have murdered their husbands if it wasn't for the fear of spending the rest of their life in jail. Did you just say amen? It's so awkward. It's been a delight to be with you. I thank you very much for the privilege. Thank you. Thank you. Friend, it's been a privilege to give these 3 shows to you. Again, if you want to learn how you can be an effective voice, an effective warrior for truth and for life, go to our website and take part in that free training.